o'clock there.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm motivated. At the end of this, I've got a nice lunch plan, so I'll work through the lunch period. So
Great.
You said you had a later night last night. You were out at the Eagles game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's not many fans that are allowed there, but I have a role. I run the play clock for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, that was. I mean, nobody knows who does that job unless you screw it up. And good news is, things went according to plan.
People don't know
That's it. That's it. Yeah. Keep it quiet. Our secret. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, but it's I enjoy it. It's nice to be behind the curtain a little bit and be around the game. It's fun.
Yeah, as you say, like one of the few members right now that can actually still see the game live. So
yeah.
Well, I'll just go ahead and get started because 30 minutes just flies right by when we've got a good conversation ahead of us. So today we're talking about winning sales habits, but as part of that, making sure we're retaining the right information or the information that matters. I know that I've got information overload and have trouble keeping it straight sometimes. So I know when I first reached out to you, I was like, we've got to have a conversation, a more extended one. And there's some other takeaways that I would love to share with the Jump Crew community and others who are out there on LinkedIn. So let me just give you a brief introduction. So I know who you are, but I want to make sure others do too. So Jim Reichwein is the CRO of WorkMark. So he's leveraging his sales leadership experience every day to reinforce the winning habits, some of which we're going to talk about today, and drive mission critical knowledge retention for his customers. Jim has over 30 years of sales experience, and especially in sales leadership, 9 with EDS, which is now an HP company, also with IBM Global Services, where he closed the largest outsourcing contracts in IBM's history, over $2.5 billion worth of total contract value. Billion, yeah. He's known for doubling revenue at his other teams as well, at NTT Data and Logicalis. But when he's not supporting his team at WorkMark, you'll see him, well, I guess you won't see him, but you're finishing the final pages of a book that's due to be complete at the end of this year. So definitely keep everyone in the loop about that. We referenced you're running the play clock at the NFL, and you're coaching high school basketball. So you are a busy man, Jim. Thank you so much for joining us.
You got it, Charlotte. Yeah, my pleasure. And you mentioned IBM and the deal. There's not one person that sells a deal like that, So I was an orchestrator and proud of it. So
yeah, you can claim some credit, but I think anyone who's selling enterprise sales, or especially in big technology deals, you've got a lot of sales engineers, tech guys, the delivery team has got a lot of work cut out for them, obviously. So there's a lot of people involved in that.
We had an amazing team for sure.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and just get started. I want to make sure for everyone who's watching, we want to keep this. This is a conversation. So if you have questions that come to you as you're watching this, please just pipe right in the chat, and we'll make sure we get to those. But I want to kind of start out. We're talking about winning sales habits, or what are some of the things that are, when we're thinking about a winning sales team, or things that are most important for salespeople to keep top of mind. What are some of the things that come to mind for your team as a CRO at WorkMark, Jim?
Yeah, I appreciate it. And the most important things is knowing what the most important thing is. And so, we tend to live in a world where there's a lot of distractions that are coming at us. And especially today, we're at home, many of us, right? And so at home, you've got kids, you've got pets, you've got all kinds of different things that are coming at you. And I'm easily distracted personally. So for me, the habit that if I'm pointing at one habit, and I would say this to you, Charlotte, routines win. Routines win. When you have consistency in when you wake up and how you conduct yourself through the day, what you can't control, is a lot of what happens to you, but control the controllables. And if you're driving a consistent routine in all facets of life, you can count on pretty consistent outcomes. So from a sales habit standpoint, it's really important to know your one thing. And what I mean by that is we all start our day with a list of things we're going after, our OKRs, right? The things that we're attacking. and any high achiever has got a long list of to-dos. It's important to know that those to-dos, that not everyone is created equal. And having the awareness where if I throw a highlighter through the one thing that impacts everything else, the one thing that will help me get to where I need to go, if you're looking at a spreadsheet of opportunities in Salesforce and you say, okay, what's the one deal that represents a gateway of opportunity to a total addressable market? I'm going to point all my resource at that. They say don't put all your eggs in one basket. I disagree. Figure out what basket, put them all in, and go like hell.
I think that's so true, especially now we've got all of these tools that they're great, but they're pinging us at any given point. And you can see, like I can see in one of the tools that we use, I've got 250 LinkedIn tasks to do, 15 emails I need to personalize and write, and then 100 calls. There's no way I'm going to get that done in a day. And so it's easy to just start doing other low value tasks because you feel like, all right, at least I'm doing something, or maybe I'm chipping away that LinkedIn list. But I think having a really clear, like a written list of what are your most high value accounts. Like I know my manager talks about, what are the deals that are closest to revenue, and you're going to always start your day there. Swallow the frog, call the person you don't want to call because you're waiting on a response about a contract, right?
Sure.
Or if you're an SDR and you're calling, you've got 100 calls in front of you that are follow up. You can in some of these CRM tools or sales enablement tools, you can click, what's had the most engagement and start there, right? Like at least kind of focus. There's other ways to focus your activities, but then, if you can start your day in what's the most going to have the most impact. Do you have any ways that you're doing that with your team now to make sure, like, do you actually say, Jason, go show me your list, circle the one thing, what is it? Or like, how have you done that with your team?
Yeah, we do. And every morning, we have a call. And actually it's a Monday, Friday, and then there's, check-in points throughout the week with our teams. And we go through our OKRs, right? And so, really it's really what our objectives are, our key real results that we're attacking that week. And then we go back and we visit, okay, if you've got 5, 10 things, what is that most important thing? And then I work with my team to make sure that we're attacking that most important thing. And I think it's really important as a sales leader to not be above any job. It's one class of employee. So you got to be willing to pick up a shovel and start digging. And so if you understand what that one thing is for somebody on your team, let's break that down and figure out the tasks required to have success around that one thing, because you can't do everything. And if you know what that one thing is, that builds real engagement and camaraderie when you're willing to jump in the boat and really begin to pull on the oar and support your team and their efforts. I think it's really important. I'll tell you this other thing too, and it gets away, I think, from a lot of sales leaders, and it's been really beneficial to me. It's how I look at myself and how I project out to the team and how I see them. And it's almost like if you could imagine yourself now in an exercise program. And you've got exercise objectives you want to achieve. Are you a self-starter? Are you someone who wakes up at 6 a.m. and attacks it right away? You've got a plan and you know what you're doing. If you're that, great. You lead that person a certain way. If you're a sponsor partner and you need somebody next to you and that enables you to perform your best, then know that about yourself and make sure that you're partnering with the right people. And if you're a personal trainer, you might need a foot behind you and somebody pushing you, right? So first of all, I personally, I vary between almost all of them. And often I am self-starter, but I really need a personal trainer because I enjoy doing things with people. I won't let people down that I care about, right?
That's probably the case of so many salespeople, right? I think by nature we're social people. To do this job,
right on, absolutely. And so if I coach a self-starter, right, somebody who is after it, and I overcoach that person, that's not a good environment for them, right? And so you can't treat them all the same, and you got to really know what the right fabric is, and what the right support metric might be for each player on the team, and then follow through on it.
That's such a great point. And, I think too of, we're talking about building winning habits. You might hold that self-starter back, or give them habits that actually aren't going to lend to the most success for them. Where I know, and I can also think of, like, as to your point, you kind of vary. I could think of like cold calling. We've had a call on that before. Nobody likes that. Even, like Mike Weinberg and some of these big sales leaders, they're like, oh, like, proactive calling, let's call it something else. Nobody likes that. So, that might be a task where you need to time block to make sure that habit happens. And even if you say you're going to do that yourself, because it's so uncomfortable, make that, like, I know some of our sales managers, they have a couple hour blocks where they're doing a live, like a Google Hangout, and everyone's on mute, but it's a call power hour. So everybody has got this, if they want to, like, ask a question, or, say something funny that happened, like a funny call that just happened, they can go off mute and share that with the team. But it's a way to build accountability and make sure you're reinforcing that habit. So just thinking about it at the task level, as well as, the personal, just overall level, I think is
for
really
sure, Charlotte. And I'll tell you this too. You've got to be willing in those sessions, especially as a sales leader, to do it yourself. Nobody cares what you know until they know you care. And you've got to be willing to put yourself out there, and fail and succeed. Something I've done in a previous job that I thought was really effective was, we had an elevator pitch contest, and we actually asked the kids of families to give the elevator pitch. If you know your elevator pitch cold, that's great. Does your family know it? Can they give it? And then we put them on tape, and then we had a competition, and we gave an award, and it was really fun.
That's fabulous.
And it really loosened the atmosphere. And this was a big enterprise, and it was really fun. It was a really great way to just get those words, really become just immortalized in our mind, and that kind of repetition is what we're all about within our company. Is just reinforcing that most important information at the right time.
That's such a good point. Because I think one of the things when we were first talking, and I said, hey, let's do a LinkedIn Live, you were talking about how little information we actually retain. I think you said it's like 10% of information we learn throughout the week.
Yeah, over the course, what science says, right, is you retain 10% of what you learn over the course of 7 days if there's no reinforcement, right? And when you think about that, that's scary, and you can understand how it's real. The fail point now with the advancements of technology, the fail point is in the person, and so how do we drive routines, right? Best practices to our team in a sales community, in any operational function. You want to be able to reinforce key training, and what you don't want to do today, right, is here's your 3-ring binder, retain it and expect the right kind of performance. So what we've been doing and having great success is taking the most important data and putting it into the hands of the doer, and then reminding them about the things they need to do, and putting best practices in action. And who we help, really, Charlotte, is that person that is well-intended, that wants to do their best, but it has a list of 100 things and might deviate and do 65 instead of the one that's most important. So we'll remind you to come back to that thing and hold you accountable to make sure you're doing the things that you most want to do. And then the other thing is, we validate that people are doing what they're supposed to do. So you'll find out who's not, and then that's a coaching opportunity as well. In today's world, there's just so many distractions, and when you're home and you're working and you're Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, you really need to be reminded of what it is you need to do and when you need to do it, so you can achieve the results that you're really after.
Yeah, I know. I was not always updating my Salesforce. Like I'm guilty. And so my team is just like, all right, at 5:10, we've got a little link, a little reminder in a Google Calendar. We're going to go into Salesforce and do it. So even if I do it at 5:30, it's because I got a ping. I'm like, yep, I'm going to do that today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also we were talking just before the call about, maybe we don't have a tool like Workmark, which is great for helping us have that information right in front of us when we need it. But like you were talking about the calls, that regular cadence you do, but having a check-in huddle. In previous teams I've been on, and we do this too, like via Slack internally here, but having a check-out call so that you say what your, maybe you've got your biggest, most important task, or these are the deals that are closest to revenue that I might need a second voice on. But at the end of the day, what did you accomplish, or where did you have challenges still, or why didn't you accomplish those? And I've seen that being really helpful because there's extra visibility. You're going to hold yourself accountable, especially if you're afraid of disappointing your team. Like I know I am. So some of those little things can help reinforce habits, like doing what you say you're going to do and making sure you're staying focused on the activities that are most important. One thing I quickly wanted to say, because we were talking about this, but the 10% retention, which, as you say, is a terrifying fact. There's little things obviously you can do if you're taking notes or other things to retain information. But I think everyone knows that you retain more information when you teach it. I was reading before this, like you retain 90% of what you teach, 90%. And obviously we can't spend all the time in the world preparing to teach something. But, I was just thinking about that, like, gosh, how can I give myself more opportunities to try and maybe teach my customers, make it like something that I'm trying to teach and share with them, or if they're, if it's like a part of your sales story or your objections, can we be part of like new hires onboarding, like training that?
Absolutely.
I know something that we do at my team on Jump Crew is we have once a month, one of us does a sales training. And that may seem like, oh, why aren't they bringing in someone external? And you can definitely do that. And we do. But I don't remember sometimes when we get a Zoom call from a sales coach.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, I remember all the takeaways from a book that I read that the best practices I share with my team from that 45-minute training. Every word of it. So that for me is like, okay, like that, how can we do more of that? Is that something you've done on your team, or have you found, like, not necessarily just at the leadership level, but helping your actual team members retain information? Or
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, we've all had team experiences, right? And so when you think about, that special team I was a part of, it could have been a junior high something, wherever it was. What was that special thing? What was that thing you felt? And it's my belief that you were engaged. You were engaged, and the success of the person next to you was more important to you than your own personal success. And when you have that engagement, watch out. And I don't care what business you're in. When you have that, watch out. So now there's statistics that are out there that say, roughly 30% of today's workforce is engaged. Engaging meaning I'll do a little more than what I'm supposed to do, right? So that's called engaged. If I'm not engaged, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. That's it. So that's a problem. And if I care about the person next to me, I'll do whatever it takes to support them. So how do you build that? And something that we do, we have a pledge. And in all the work I've ever done, it's really become the most important thing for me because it connects us as a team, right? And again, nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. And there are principles that hang on the wall for almost every company. And if you ask people to repeat them, it's really hard for them to be able to do that, right? And there's 5 bullets that make perfect sense. They're written beautifully, but they end up being framed and not becoming actions. So there's 2 parts to this. One is we take those and we have something called principles in action. So if you're a company and these are your principles, you want to be able to send videos out that highlight people that are doing the actively driving those principles out. And you just want to highlight some of those activities so they become who you are.
Mm.
And then the second thing, and I want to share, I have our written pledge.
Please, yeah, share your pledge.
Yeah, I want to, because I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of it. And John New is our CEO, and he's the one that created this, and it connects us every day. It really does. So this is the Workmark pledge, and twice a week somebody shares it along with a personal story as to how it impacts them in and out of the office. I was born to adapt. I was born to thrive. I believe that the only thing I can control is myself and the path that I choose. I am not a victim of circumstance. I am a champion of choice. I can always do better and contribute more to those around me. Today is an amazing day to be alive and fearless. I am committed to becoming who I want to be.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I can't say it without some fire. I don't know how to deliver it any other way, because it's who we are, and it's something we talked about as a company just yesterday. It's a culture we have, and we're a company that's not without challenges, right? But if somebody in the middle of the night was stranded anywhere, we all are coming. We all are coming. And how do you build that? And this pledge really connects us. And and so whatever your words are for another company, whatever your team experience was that was so great, I think bringing people together around that and making sure that you've got that rallying cry when things get tough. It gives you a code. When you are a little distracted, it brings you back. And it's something that's working for us really well.
No, sorry, I'm getting a little feedback. I don't know if you were hearing that on my end. That stuff cannot be underestimated. I think because we're all human. Oh, thanks, Marianne. We're all human, so we're inspired by those kinds of things, even if they sound cheesy. So I know, I think at a former company, we used to have, we were in the education space. And so we had a mission, our values, and a purpose. And it became clear to our management that we could not recite it. And so once a week, somebody would have an opportunity to ask, all right, who can name what our mission is? And that just became a regular thing. We knew we were going to get quizzed on it. And so you start to commit it to memory. And the other thing is what you're saying is how does your work live? Have you seen those values live in your work in some way this week? And that's that's so powerful, because then you find, in terms of retaining information too, like you remember that because you hear it regularly, but also you think of how can I, you're proud, and that's going to come through in your sales conversations. You're going to have more examples of things your team is doing when you're talking about especially like why your sales culture is different, or why, like for Jump Crew, we want to show like we are not a call center, right? We're a team of engaged, excited sales people. And if I have more of those examples of, like how we're living in our values or living in our mission, and that's exactly it. I know one of ours is to do what we say we're going to do. I know our CEO, Robert Henderson, is just do what you say you're going to do, which is so simple. But I know that's something if I want to go home early, because I had so many calls, and we didn't close the deal. I think I said I was going to do that today. I know it's 6:30. I'm going to do it because that represents the company. So, little things like that definitely matter in terms of building good habits, right?
I'll give you two more things too.
Yeah.
There's two abbreviations that we lean on, and one is ICA, which are I care actions. Don't tell me how you feel, show me, right? And love's an action word, right? And if you really care, then go show it with your action. And that's one. And then the other, and my own kids will roll their eyes at this because they've heard it over and over again, but LFM is learn from mistakes. Go make full speed mistakes. In the sales world, 100% certainty doesn't exist. You gather as much data around the most important opportunity, and then you got to let it fly. And if you're a sales leader, you help gather that data. And if you fail, it's the most important time to pick somebody up and make sure that we're leveraging that experience so we can be better the next time. You don't want to lose that opportunity. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity for leaders when failure happens to convene, assess what was done, and essentially grow from that experience. So you can't steal second base if you're afraid to leave first. You got to get the data, and then you got to turn and go as fast as you can, and leverage everybody around you. We have something called a VRB. It's called a value review board.
So many great. I think this is part of how. No, this is a good thing. I think this is part of how you retain this information. Like, you have to have like some acronyms or some things you can get excited about or just spit off. So that's
right
great.
on.
Keep going. So what is it? VBR?
Yeah, VRB. It's a value
VRB,
review board. It's a value review board, and it sounds so formal, and it's really not meant to be. But Charlotte, if you've got a sales opportunity and you're tracking through it, and you're at a crossroad, you're really not sure what to do, or there's a couple different ways you can go. We've got a template you fill out, and then we gather our executive team together. You present where you're at, what you're doing, and then we brainstorm around how to go through and get through the obstacles that you might be facing. And when it works best, it's a no judgment zone. And what's most important is not that you know everything about your opportunity, it's know what you don't know. I'm going to say it again, know what you don't know. Because if you're flying straight and you don't know that there's other things that you're not aware of, that you're not working to get that data, there's no excuse for that. And so others might be able to see some obstacles. They might be able to see some things that you don't see. And so prior to going to proposal, right in that sales process, having a session with key leaders around key deals, and just making sure that leadership is not judgmental, that it's not painful on the salesperson, that it's truly we're on the same side of the table working towards the same objective. That's when it really works well. And what I've experienced, we were just in a meeting yesterday going over it, that when we get deals to that stage, our close rate is well over 50%. When we are all collectively,
everyone's together. Yeah.
It usually works. It usually works. So hopefully that's helpful for others that are listening.
Yeah, I mean, it's helpful for me at the very least. I'm just thinking on, for us, after we close a deal, I kind of brief the delivery team and we brainstorm about it. And really, like, we've got such amazing sales leaders on that team. I learn from them every day, and because they have to figure out how to make it work, how we're going to really deliver sales results to our partners. So, and it was really clear to me. I was like, oh, I should have talked to them before because I don't know the answer to that question, or, I know this pain point, but I don't know what makes their sale. Like, I know that, their challenge on the sales side is, they're having trouble getting deals, but digging into that a bit more, like, why are they having trouble getting someone to answer on the phone, or what is their sale like? What are their really successful salespeople like? Like, just some of the ways that they're asking questions. And I'm like, these are things I don't know. And the more I talk to my team and get that knowledge, it's my blind spots are more apparent, and I can go into another call saying, like, this, I'm going to go after, like, collecting information I need, preparing for that call, and then I'm going to get more out of it. So yeah, all those things you say, I think, are really, really relevant there.
Good.
Yeah. Well, so I guess we're right up on time here, but for some key takeaways, I know we talked about a lot of different things, but for several things we want people to walk away with, their kind of main tips. I'll help you restate them, but what are those three things?
Yeah, I would say, again, just circling back to, it's a no-brainer that people are going to establish their OKRs, right? Those key objectives for a week. You're going to do that. Just make sure you know on your team, both individually, be able to state it, as well as know your team's one thing, that most important opportunity and the tasks that you need to accomplish around that. So I would highlight that. I'd also say to sales leadership, just make sure that you're pulling the principles off the wall and putting them in action. So when, and I'm a parent, and I'm a proud parent, and 4 wonderful kids, and I have a wonderful wife, and I'm the luckiest guy I know because of that, honestly. And when you catch them being good, and when you catch them being good and you can highlight that, that's one of the greatest moments for a leader, and it really reinforces the right stuff. So when you catch your team doing the things that your company's foundation stands on, you really need to just wave the flag and say, that's what it's about. That's great stuff. Let's keep doing that, and well done. And then the last thing, and I hadn't mentioned this, but I would, in sessions when you're going over numbers, I would ask why. And what I mean is, why is this statistic important? Why is this graph important? How do you contribute to it? And if you can rotate to salespeople and different people the responsibility of reporting results weekly of how you're tracking, then it's not one voice just repeating something over and over, but getting feedback from your team on what you're presenting and what it means to them, and bring them forward and enable them and their voice, not just yours, to be representing the numbers. Then you're all in it together. And I know from a sales leadership standpoint, I've learned more when somebody else presented our results than I presented it. I learned more because a new perspective came, and I would encourage others to do that. So those are my primary takeaways.
That's great. And one thing that I've realized we didn't talk about, but that I thought was so cool, and I want everyone to know about it, in terms of the wins across the company and making sure you're reinforcing those values that make somebody successful and engaged, and just be a better employee. You said something about some of the videos that you're sharing around the company when there's wins. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Thank you. So within our application, so we reinforce winning behavior, right? So winning behavior comes in a lot of different ways. So when there's something that you need to do through your day, and routines win, so we will remind you to do certain things during your day that are tracking to where you need to go, and how you're going to accomplish your primary goal. So that's our all-encompassing point of view of what we're bringing to the marketplace. And so we help sales leaders reach their goals, right? And by understanding what's most important. So the ability to send videos out to highlight that Charlotte was amazing today because she finished her project and then became part of my team to help me succeed in this particular area. I just want to highlight that because that's a core principle to our corporation. Sending those kinds of videos out as reinforcements of the behavior that you're really looking to promote is just a great way to engage your team, to show them what's most important to you. And essentially, that's why they became a part of your team. So you remind them and you keep them engaged. They're in the circle. And I'm going to go back to something I said earlier. Remember when you were part of a great team, when you would do anything for the person next to you. That's a winning environment. I don't care what you do and what your business, that's a winning environment. When you can sit at a table and say, you don't have to like everybody, but you need to care.
You want to go to bat for them, and you
right on.
You work on a proposal with them. Absolutely.
I got your back no matter what. And when you have that juice, when you have that energy, you're going to find success. It's going to come to you, and there might be bumps, but you'll push right through them. And if you can create that as a leader through some of the strategies I've shared, I'd love that. And anybody who wants to follow up with me and hear more, I'd love to share.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jim. I know there's a lot of things that I've just jotted notes down that I want to do personally, but also that I think across our team that they'd be really on board with, especially now that they're all remote, and some of us are back in our office, but we're still more fragmented than we used to be. How can you keep that engagement high and keep us focused on the things that really matter to the company and to closing deals, right? So thanks so much, Jim. For everyone that tuned in, please feel free to leave additional questions there. We'll follow up. Jim and his team at Workmark is all linked will be linked to the video. So if you do want to reach out, that's a great way to do it. So thanks everybody, and have a great weekend. And Jim, you do the same.